Every year, both in the readings at Mass and in the Liturgy of the Hours, which is the prayers that the clergy pray in the religious, there's a period of days and or weeks where they're just like going after the priests and the religious leaders, like going after them and going after them. Today is the day that they really went after them. I think that's a confirmation. And we read these readings like the ones we had today, and they're like, ooh, they're kind of like, Jesus, like, I'm watching you. And it's kind of imposing. It's kind of like, it's kind of scary. Because it makes you, if you're really reading them, you're like, am I failing as a shepherd of God's people? Am I failing? Am I like these shepherds that Jesus was talking about? And it goes through the whole kind of history of Christianity. It's like the Old Testament in the first reading, the Christian era in the letter, and then during the time of Jesus, the 3 years of Jesus' public life. And the theme is the same through all of them. Is that, what are you doing? Are you doing what God is asking you to do? Because God placed you there. And it's a little intimidating. But it's a good thing. It's good to go back to that question. And I think in the years leading up to our current era, it has been really easy for a priest to get comfortable. It's easy. It's part of the reason why we have the 6-year assignments. Because sometimes it's real easy to get real comfortable and just kind of coast. And often that's the best way to do it, because you don't get a lot of resistance. You can just keep things moving, and you're comfortable. But for me, I come into this life late in life. As many of you know, right, I did engineering for 10 years out of college before I even entered the seminary. And I came into this life with a very kind of different perspective and a fire in my belly. So I love it when we get to Jeremiah, right? Jeremiah comes into the scene and he's like lamenting. He's like, I don't want to do what God's asking me to do. But he put a fire in my belly. So I'm driven. I got to do it. And the problem is with religious leadership sometimes, when we get comfortable, what isn't getting comfortable is the world around us. The world around us is continuing to march. And usually it's marching downward. It's marching towards destruction. It's a downward spiral. You look at our history. A lot of times we look at what's going on right now, and it looks bad, and it is bad. But it's not the first time. We keep doing it. But we're here and we're now. And we look at the world and we see that it made a radical shift in the last 20 years. And all the things, at least for me, and I think maybe for a lot of you, I was born in 1964, so I was born before, as Vatican II was taking place, so I don't remember pre-Vatican II. I just remember I'm a Vatican II priest and person. But even since then, and for those of us who precede Vatican II, the world is really, I don't think we're just imagining that the world is really different. It is really different. And we have a couple of generations now that have grown up in this world, and it's all their norm. They don't know something different. They didn't grow up when we did. They don't know it. So a lot of the assumptions that we had growing up are not the assumptions that new generations have about what's true and what isn't, what is beautiful and what isn't, who God is and who God isn't. who the human person is, who we are, who each other is. Very different. A lot of things about truth are in question, right? We have, Benedict said the tyranny, no, it was is it tyranny? The tyranny of relativism. It's like the relativism kind of spirit is just like imposing itself. First it proposed itself, and now it imposes itself. And wants us to bow down to it. I, as an engineer, always felt like science was kind of a safe place, because science has the scientific method, right? And you follow the method. It's reasonable, it's rational. And you have theories and posits, and you test them, and you test them. And if they continue to be true, then you begin to adopt ideas about how the world functions. But even this safe place called science isn't safe anymore. It's bound in its head. It's worshiping the God of the culture, whatever the culture's saying it wants to be true. Science is kind of bowing its head to it. It's kind of backing away. And I never thought that would happen. Beauty is the same thing. It's like what we think is beautiful. Beauty, is a transcendent thing. It's a thing that we know it when we see it, and it's not merely an eye thing. It's not merely a visual thing. It's a heart thing. It heals the heart. Like literally, beauty heals the heart. It heals the soul. It heals the psyche, the psychology. But now we present for beauty the things that take away hope. Things that are presented for beauty are just their darkness and their hopelessness. They're godless. There's no God. But what has not changed is the human person. We all want the truth, and we're all looking for it, whatever generation we're from. It's still our desire. And we still respond both to when we think we're being lied to, and we respond to the truth. It feeds the mind and it feeds the heart, because the mind is made for the truth. It's wired for it. And so we still look for it. We're still wandering around looking for it. And we're still wandering around looking for beauty. And that's why we love to have our weddings in the mountains. Because it's situating something that sort of inside psychologically we know is beautiful, which is marriage. And we want to place it in the middle of something that is beautiful, which is creation. So it's still there. Years ago, and I get to hear the stories of St. Francis Cabrini. I was in seminary at the time of Columbine. But I heard stories about what the Holy Spirit was doing here, preparing this parish to receive the broken hearts and broken bodies of those who were killed and the families at Columbine. And we were set up to receive them, even though we didn't know it was going to happen. The stories are amazing. The church, in general, and our parish, has been guided by the Holy Spirit to receive the people from where they're at. And it beautifully displayed at Columbine. At Columbine. And I'm absolutely convinced that what we are proposing with the Heartbeat Project is exactly what the Holy Spirit is doing for this era. That this new generation is looking for beautiful things, and they find it here, but they will find it in a way which will bowl them over. Not subtly, not like I think, but immediately walking in the doors and through the glass, see the hope of baptism, the sustaining of human life and soul at the Eucharistic table, and the very presence of God, all of it right in front of them. The greatest truth and the greatest gift of the Holy Catholic Church is the teaching that we have not let go of, that we believe with the core of our origins, because they came out of the words of Jesus himself, is that God is present for every single generation. Physically present, not an idea or a spirituality. We can manipulate ideas and spiritualities. And that truth, that eternal truth, will be obvious, not something to look for, gazing around the room. But like most every Catholic church, it will be the immediate recognition that God is here. God is here. And God will be there. It matters because we have eyes, and we have bodies, and we have souls that are looking for him. And there will be no mystery where he'll be found. And he'll be found even when we are absent. But when we gather together, people will see these generations who are looking for goodness will find it in this community because they've always found it here. And so the Holy Spirit will move us to prepare to receive those that the Holy Spirit is going to bring into our doors. I invite our ushers to come forward. And I ask you, I want you to be part of this. We're all part of this. If you do not have a pledge card, didn't receive one at home, or don't have one with you, if you could raise your hand. So everybody's got, most people, but if you could raise your hand, don't be shy. Don't be comfortable either, right? That's what all the readings were about. Don't be comfortable. There's time to be comfortable. There is when we're decaying in the grave. But now's not the time to be comfortable. You know, I've been thinking about this, right, a lot, obviously. And trying to figure this out because it's not, we started this, right, really in the sense, in the heart and in the mind, not long after I came here, and I'm sure even before me. And as we haven't determined that this is the day and time that we want this to be kind of come out into the community and to present it to you and to move forward in this dramatic way, which is this Pledge Sunday. Because if we did, I wouldn't have done it right now, right? I was like, look at the economics, look at this, look at that. This is not a good time. It really isn't. But I was thinking about this morning. Maybe it's the exact perfect time. Maybe it's like Joan of Arc. I was made for this time. Maybe for the heaviness of this economy and the heaviness of the place we are right now in our culture, and the heaviness of war that's just breaking out, and violence, and dehumanizing acts that the world is all seeing. Maybe this is exactly the right time, because God doesn't want us to be comfortable. He wants us to be alive. Alive. We have begun what's the silent phase, and many of you were part of it. We called it the silent phase of talking to people and inviting them into this. And we've already got 1.5 million pledged. 1.5 million pledged towards $4 million goal. That's already there. It's already the momentum of the Holy Spirit moving forward and the generosity of people responding to it. And we are absolutely grateful to you for those of you who have already been part of that movement. But we're all part of it, and I'm inviting everyone to be part of it, to whatever degree you're able to. And my true, honest hope and prayer and request that you take this to Jesus Christ, that you take it to adoration. That is what makes us Catholic, is that we can actually walk somewhere and sit down with him. We don't have to kind of I wish I was alive in the first century. I wish I could have been there when he was walking the dirts of the Holy Land. He's here, and we can go and see him. So I'm asking you, if you haven't done it already, that you take this question about how you want to be part of our future and part of receiving the generations that God's going to bring here. I want you to take it to adoration. Literally, I beg of you to take it to the presence of Jesus. And whatever he says, that whatever comes out of that is great. Whether it's very little or it's a lot, it's all great because it's directed by God. And you will have peace in your place in this. I know there's many of us who have in a really bad place financially. And so God doesn't ask us to do the impossible. But God does do the impossible. So just place yourselves in his presence, and then you'll, in peace, put whatever you need to put on those pledge cards. And I invite you to do that. So I thank you. May God bless you. May God give you wisdom. May God protect you. May God protect your marriages, protect your children. And we all find ourselves one day in the presence of God in heaven. But till then, it's not real comfortable.